Hello everyone, this video is about routine task inventory. This assessment tool was developed within the framework of the cognitive disability model, which was developed by the same author. Routine task inventory, also known as Rti, has three versions, which are Rti original, Rti expanded, and Rti2. Rti expanded version has been used in Israel as the standard Rti since 1989, when it was prepared by Allen as an expanded version of the original Rti. For the Rti2, which was published later, appears to be unclear and too complicated for most practitioners, and they prefer not to use it. The author of this assessment is Claudia K. Allen. The purpose of this assessment is to measure the extent to which the patient's cognitive impairment disrupts their ability to perform occupational tasks. Second, to assess an individual's ability to perform ADL, IADL at home and in the community setting. And lastly is to assess an individual's work readiness and their social communication verbally and written. The method that can be used to administer this assessment is three options, which are patient self-report, a family member or other caregiver's report, and also the observation of the performance by the therapist. Rti has 26 items and are divided into 4 subscales, which are physical skill, community skill, communication skill, and work readiness skill. This assessment can be used to individuals with cognitive disability and psychiatric disorder. Time to administer for this assessment can be varies because the therapist's observation could involve this and different settings, so it could take a longer time depends on the patient's condition on that time. The procedure to administer self-report and caregiver report. Self-report and caregiver report are administered as a checklist during an interview with the individual who is providing the report. If the individual is able to read, they are provided a copy of the Rti scoring criteria, which is the form, and asked to indicate which items best describe the behaviors that the individual is likely to exhibit. The therapist will explain the item as needed and encourage the individual or the caregiver to provide a detailed description of the behavior. Then the therapist will mark the item which match the individual's or caregiver's report. So if the individual or caregiver is not able to read, the items can be read to them. Next is therapist report. The therapist need to observe the individual performing at least 4 tasks from each area scored. Then the therapist must report which tasks were observed and the duration of the observation in the reporting form. The therapist may only record behavior which he or she has directly observed. The scoring of the Rti expanded is based on familiarity with the client access and observation done during several days in different contexts. It is not based on one-time structured task performance and therefore referred to as routine task performance. It could be also a team of therapists who observe the client on different tasks and collaborate in scoring the Rti expanded. In this case, it is important that the therapist establish interactive agreement between them on scoring the Rti. For the scoring, this assessment requires different range of possible score. To get the mean scale for each subscale, sum all the items, then divide it by the number of items in the subscale. This is the example of scoring. Based on the picture, we can see that the total sum of the item is 18. Then we divide it by 8 because they are 8 items in the physical scale. Then we will get the mean scale, which is 2.25. Then round off it to make it whole number, so we will get 2 for the mean scale. For the interpretation, there are no specific interpretations stated in the manual, but just stated the example of interpretation below the scoring sheet. For the example of the interpretation, using the same example in the scoring, so the mean score for the physical subscale is 2, so it indicates that the patient is complete dependent with maximum existence. For the psychometric properties of this assessment is limited. For the validity, there is face validity. Claudia K. Allen is an OT and is internationally recognized for her work and expert in the cognitive disability models. Next is reliability. For the iterator reliability, this assessment achieves excellent iterator reliability with the R value is 0.9. For the internet consistency, all internet consistency for Rti-E and standard subscale using the Chromebook Alpha were found to be acceptable. The advantages of this assessment is all the manual and form are free to download and use. It is easy to administer and it can be completed more than 1%. For the limitation, this assessment is time consuming. Next, the therapist need to have some knowledge and skill before use this assessment. Next is score can be affected by patient's mood during that time. And lastly, for the self-report and the caregiver report, it may be underrated or overrated by them. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for watching.